How's it going, guys? And welcome back to TheeSportsScoop. I'm Dylan, and I'm going to be bringing you guys another mock draft. I know you guys are all caught up in your March Madness or free agency, a bunch of trades going on in the meantime. But I thought, why not give you guys a first round mock, given the trades I think are going to happen with Deshaun Watson, and that just happened with Devontae Adams. I thought it would be interesting to give you guys. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First mock draft in a while for me. Here we go. So at first overall for Jacksonville, they brought in Brandon Sheriff in this offseason on the offensive line, as well as tagging Cam Robinson. And in our long podcast, I did say that tagging Cam Robinson did signify for them going line. But I think on second thought, they are going to go for Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan with the first overall pick, just because I think bringing in Brandon Sheriff and spending that type of money means that they're really committed to keeping Trevor Lawrence safe with that free agency money. And I think they're going to be bringing in a couple more veteran players to keep him safe. And on defense, they can use the Aiden Hutchinson, who I do think is the best player on the board. So first overall, I'm going to go Aiden Hutchinson. Second to Detroit. Now, there are a lot of options here. A team in need of a lot of stuff. As you can see, I don't really go off this needs board all too much. I don't think it's particularly accurate. Quarterback is a need, but Malik Willis will not be going at the number 2 overall spot. I don't think he's even my quarterback 1, but that's what I've been seeing a lot. At second overall, I'm going to be taking the next best defensive end on the board, and that's Kayvon Thibodeaux. I think he's the best player on the board, in my opinion. Other teams think otherwise. Other teams question his effort, his adjustability. But I think Kayvon Thibodeaux, as far as talent and athleticism come, it's the best in the class. And the Lions will be very, very fortunate to have a guy such as himself on the roster. One thing to mention, they did re-sign Charles Harris, so that may be a pretty formidable edge rush duo coming for them. Third overall, Houston Texans, and a team that is in dire need of pretty much everything, as you can see here. But the player I'm going to take here at number 3 overall is offensive tackle Evan Neal, who has been mocked at 1 to Jacksonville quite a bit. I think he's going to end up in Houston. Makes a lot of sense for them to take him, seeing as he's a monster. He's 6'7". They're in need of someone to protect Davis Mills, and I think he will be the one that will do that. Evan Neal, my absolute tackle 1. Ike Ekwonu is great. Charles Cross is great. Trevor Penning is great. They don't touch Evan Neal in my eyes. At 4 to the Jets. And this is a team that's made a lot of moves in the offseason. I would have probably taken Ike Ekwonu before, but they brought in Laken Tomlinson, who is going to play as a guard this season, and George Fant will be on the tackle side most likely. So I'm going to be bringing in Kyle Hamilton, who is pretty much a positionless defender, and he is my second best player on the board. Kyle Hamilton can play anywhere on the defense, as I just said, and for a team that brought in Jordan Whitehead, but is still struggling in terms of safety depth and pretty much everywhere on the defense depth. They have a very weak linebacking core, very weak cornerbacks. And at safety, bringing in Kyle Hamilton would be a massive, massive improvement. Expecting to see that happen for the Jets. Now at 5 overall to the New York Giants, and this is another team with a lot of holes, but they're actually going to address offensive line as well, and it's going to be Ikem Ekwonu off the board. I think this is a pretty easy pick to make, seeing as Evan Neal is picked at 3rd overall. Ike Ekwonu, really good run defender, good pass blocker as well, and he has the versatility. He played guard a long time in college. This season going out to tackle, he could play pretty much anywhere along the line other than center. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take snaps at guard for the Giants, but we'll see where this goes. Ike Ekwonu at 5 to the Giants. 6 to Carolina. Now, this is an interesting pick because they're not getting Deshaun Watson. We just saw this recently. I'm not going to go quarterback. I'm actually going to go cornerback because they're losing their number 1 and number 2 corners this season, which is Stephon Gilmore and Dante Jackson. They have J.C. Horn, who was obviously injured throughout the whole season. I'm going to go Derek Stingley at 6 overall just because he has that high upside. I think him and J.C. Horn can form one of the best cornerback tandems in the league, and Derek Stingley in his 2019 season is as good as anyone on this board gets. 7 overall to the Giants. They're in dire need of weapons, and I'm going to be the one that gives it to them. It's just a question of who, and my answer to that question is going to be a bit of an unordinary one. It's going to be Chris Olave. And before you leave your comments down in the comment section, which by all means do, actually, but I think Chris Olave is the best receiver in this class. Blazing speed. He's been a star in college his entire college career, and he thoroughly outshined Garrett Wilson this season. Just putting that out there. And he has some of the best hands in the class. I know he has some concentration drops, but that's pretty much everyone else in this wide receiver class is going to drop some passes. But Chris Olave seems to be the most steady in terms of hands. He's got blazing speed. He can play in the slot. He can play on the boundary. He's very, very talented. Chris Olave, 7 overall. Now 8. I have Atlanta trading this pick to Houston for Deshaun Watson, as that is what I think is going to happen. And Deshaun Watson leaving will leave a hole at quarterback. Maybe. I think Davis Mills is good enough to go forward with it, so I guess not. But Houston are in, again, real big need of position players. I would have probably taken a receiver here if I hadn't taken Olave at 7 for the Giants. I'm going to go corner as well, and I'm going to take Sauce Gardner at 8 because Houston, other than Desmond King, who's okay, they have nothing in the secondary, and Sauce Gardner is someone that fits in perfectly for them. I think it works out really well. Sauce Gardner is pretty much the second coming of Jalen Ramsey. You know my opinions on Jalen Ramsey, by the way. He's not my favorite corner in the league, but he's a very, very good corner. But he's the second coming out of college of Jalen Ramsey. He's very hard to pass on, very good tackler. He gets stuff done. So Sauce Gardner at 8. At 9, and this is not what I personally would do. This is what is going to happen. Seattle Seahawks are going to pick Malik Willis. I have my issues with him. He's very athletic. He's very he has a big, big arm, but I don't quite see the learning curve in the NFL taking 1 or less years. I think it's going to take 2 or 3 years for him to adapt and adjust to the NFL speed of play, especially with a team like Seattle, who are clearly in a rebuild. I don't think he's going to be able to match up with the teams in his division or in his schedule. I think Malik Willis is going to have a really, really tough time, but I do think that's what's going to happen at 9. 10th overall to the Jets. They're in need of linebacking help, but they're not going to get that at 10. They're in need of wide receiver help, and that is what they're going to do. I think at the 10th overall pick, they're going to take Treylon Burks. And he is my wide receiver 3 on the board, but he's the second one coming off in this mock draft. Treylon Burks has proven himself over the course of his college career to just be pretty much good at everything. He's massive. He can run. He can play as a Deebo Samuel type player. He's really good in the gadget spots. And then he's really, really good at just deep passes. And he'll be the type of receiver that Zach Wilson really needs. I think Treylon Burks at 10 makes a whole lot of sense for them. And I think it'll leave a lot of happy Jets fans. 11 overall to Washington. This is a team who did not fully commit to taking Carson Wentz, but they are going to do Carson Wentz a solid and play him as the start of the season. That's what I'm going to predict, which leaves Washington in a bit of a hole because this is a pick that I would trade, and I'm going to look into my offers. Let's see. Washington, there are a couple offers. I don't think any of these teams. I'm gonna trade this pick with Arizona because I have a very clear selection that I'd want to make, and I'll trade a 2023 round 2. It was not accepted. You know what? I'm just gonna take the pick. I was kind of just rushing that one. I'm in a bit of a hole here, but I am going to take. Yeah, this isn't an easy pick. I'm gonna go with Andrew Booth. He's a really good corner, very athletic. He's got great ball skills. I think the best ball skills in the class. And Washington's in dire need of an elite corner. They have William Jackson on one side and pretty much nothing on the other one. They got rid of Landon Collins. I know he's a safety, but they got rid of some secondary help. And I think Andrew Booth, it's a little bit of a climb up the board. I know it has Trent McDuffie going to at projected ranked 8 here, but that's not going to happen. And this is really stealing Minnesota's pick because they would have very much liked to have Andrew Booth at 11. Unfortunately, that's not what's going to be what happens. But I do have my pick in for Minnesota. It's a pretty clear-cut one. Bradbury hasn't been good enough as a center for them, and I think having Tyler Linderbaum here will be a massive help. Tyler Linderbaum to Minnesota, I would expect that to happen. He's the best center in the class pretty clearly, and Minnesota, other than corner, have a very big problem at center, and that's going to be what happens. 13 to Cleveland. Now, this is a whole lot more interesting because you saw they're not going to be having Deshaun Watson. They're not going to be having Baker Mayfield, who requested a trade. Then again, they did deny Baker Mayfield's request, but that's a deteriorating relationship. I can't see that going anywhere. Baker Mayfield gone, they're going to have to target a QB. And knowing the type of organization that Cleveland is, they're going to go for the swaggy quarterback, and that's going to be Kenny Pickett. Really dropping down on this board. He's not one of my favorites, but Kenny Pickett will be the 13th overall pick to Cleveland. People have had some complaints about his small hands, but the stats that he had in his senior season or his junior season, I'm not sure, his this season, were very, very good. I think 44 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a little bit of a fumbling problem because of the small hands thing. But Kenny Pickett, overall, I think it's the safest pick you can take here. Sam Howell's my quarterback 1, but I don't think anyone else sees that way, so I'm just going to accept that Cleveland won't as well. And Kenny Pickett goes at 13. 14 to Baltimore. Now, they did have Zadarius Smith until they didn't have Zadarius Smith. They brought in Morgan Moses, and they lost Anthony Averett. So seeing that Marlon Humphrey is their only real top corner on the board, I am going to look at Trent McDuffie, but I don't think I'm going to take him. I am going to go to the edge because they do need an edge. It's pretty clear. They don't have enough pressure going. They got Pernell McPhee, and I'm going to go at 14 overall, exactly where he's picked, projected. Trayvon Walker, he's someone who's shot up boards. And in my last couple of mock drafts, I haven't even had him going first round. I didn't really understand the hype, but I do start to understand why he is so touted after. I think he's a great player. I think he's someone who can drop back into coverage as an edge rusher, which is pretty rare. And he's someone who's a really good run stopper, and he's a fast player. He's someone that's capable of doing a lot of things for a defense that needs someone to do a lot of things. Trayvon Walker to Baltimore. It's pretty much an ideal fit, actually. So, yeah. Philadelphia, if you guys don't know, they have 3 first-round picks. They're in need of a couple of things, and I'm going to be addressing them with all 3. First things first, they're in need of a defensive end. They do not have a star defensive end. Brandon Graham is aging. They're not quite in that mind frame of needing to go interior defensive line because Fletcher Cox most likely will be returning. As we saw, he was released, but they're trying to work on a new contract. And with the 15th overall pick, I'm going to be taking David Ojabo. Maybe they were going to take Trayvon Walker here. Who knows? They might have been looking at Trayvon Walker here, but I think David Ojabo fits in perfectly, actually, because he's a really quick guy. He played on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, who was the first overall pick here, and he did a really good job at Michigan. Statistically did really well, and I think he's just as good as almost every other edge on this board other than Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau, who are obviously the first 2 picks. Moving into 16 overall, the Philadelphia Eagles, again, they're going to go here for a cornerback because they were very much in need in the second half of the season of one. Darius Slay was good, but they need someone on the other side of him, and that's going to be Trent McDuffie. I think he's a really good corner. I think he's pretty quick. He's really good ball skills. He can lock down a corner wide receiver whenever he wants. And he played other side of played the other side of Kyler Gordon in college, and I think playing the other side of Darius Slay will make a lot of sense as they're similar players, Gordon and Slay, and McDuffie's used to that type of thing. 17 overall, the Los Angeles Chargers, who have brought in a lot of great players in free agency. They're going to go into the defensive line, and they're going to take Jordan Davis at 17. Someone who had an excellent combine, someone who's been impressing me day in, day out since I've started with my draft process. Jordan Davis, 17. I don't think there's really much to break down. Not much of a surprise here. 18 overall to the New Orleans Saints. And something that I just want to bring up real quick. Charles Cross has not left my board yet. Just putting that out there. And he's going to be sometime soon. It's not going to be here, though. It's going to be at the 18th overall pick. Matt Corral is someone who is probably everyone's quarterback one at the start of this college football season. And I think him going to New Orleans, it's a consolation prize. They don't get Deshaun Watson, but they get Matt Corral, who is someone who is very capable. He got injured in their bowl game this season, but someone who can run an RPO offense very well. And he did a great job with a pretty bad line. New Orleans, not anywhere near a bad line. Ryan Ramczyk potentially going to re-sign Teron Armstead, and Cesar Ruiz is a great piece to have as well. Matt Corral will have a good time behind that line. And at 19 overall, to bolster an aging line, I'm going to go with not Charles Cross, but I'm going to go Kenyon Green, 19 overall. I think he's been my consensus 19 overall every mock draft I've done. He's a good player who's fallen down draft boards, sure, but he's someone that's really, really capable of protecting the quarterback and blocking for Miles Sanders, which is going to be his primary job, as well as he'll be really good with Jalen Hurts and selling read options, RPOs. He does his work well, not flagged very often. 20 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitch Trubisky was just brought in there. I'm going to go tackle here, and I think it's a pretty clear answer. It's going to be Charles Cross. Not much to break down. He's a great player. Very simple. New England. This is one of the teams that has lost free agency. They lost their number one corner in J.C. Jackson. They lost Chase Winovich in a trade that didn't benefit them at all. And they haven't really brought anyone in. So someone that's in need of a cornerback, I am going to take someone who's pretty far down here. Yeah, he is. It's Kyler Gordon, who's on the other side of Trent McDuffie. Kyler Gordon, I like him a lot. I said he's similar to Darius Slay. I like that comparison. And they're going to need someone to stand on the other side of Jonathan Jones, and Kyler Gordon's going to be able to do that job. I think he's going to fit in perfectly with Bill Belichick, Matt Patricia, and the rest of their staff. I think it'll work out well. Kyler Gordon at 21. 22, this is the pick that they traded Devontae Adams for. And apologies. But 22 overall, they're going to go receiver. I don't see a way they can. Aaron Rodgers wants to be happy. Aaron Rodgers will be happy with this selection. It's going to be Jahan Dotson at 22, someone who showed out at the combine. I don't think he dropped a single pass this season, and having Aaron Rodgers throw to him will definitely bolster his career. Great player. Love the pick for them there. 23 to Arizona. They lose Chandler Jones in free agency. They're going to want to replace him. They're going to replace him. Didn't mean to click on Karlaftis like this, but I don't mind doing it. I think I'm going to pick him. I think I'm going to take George Karlaftis at Arizona. He's an edge rusher that they need, especially after losing Chandler Jones. I know J.J. Watt's still there, but he's not exactly prime J.J. Watt. George Karlaftis gives them that big bull rusher who can slot inside. He could play well as a defensive tackle if they need him to. Obviously not their go-to defensive tackle, but George Karlaftis, I think a versatile guy, not really what you'd expect when I'd say versatile because he's not specifically fast, but he can slot inside and he can go on the edge. I think he's a really good player. 24 to the Dallas Cowboys. They lost Connor Williams. They're losing Lyle Collins. They lost Lyle Collins. He was released today. They're going to need to uphold their line, and I don't think they're going to go Bernard Raymond or Trevor Penning. I think they're going to go to the inside line. Yeah, they're going to go inside line. They're going to take Zion Johnson out of Boston College, one of the best guards in college football this year, and he takes snaps at center, which is really interesting. So I think a perfect man-for-man replacement for Connor Williams, who went to Miami, and it's a good play for them. Hopefully it won't be flagged as much for them. 25 to Buffalo, so a team that was able to somehow pay Von Miller $1 billion, and they don't need edge rush help anymore. They do need wide receiver help. They do need running back help, as J.D. McKissick turned the other way. Wide receiver help is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give them Jameson Williams. And the reason for that is they've never really had someone on the other side of Stephon Diggs who's just a burner. Because they've had Emmanuel Sanders, they've had Cole Beasley in slots, they've had Isaiah McKenzie, John Brown at the end of his career. Jameson Williams is a burner, and if you pair Jameson Williams up with Josh Allen, you're going to see some Tyreek Hill-like production. And I don't like saying that about fast guys who have just come off injuries. That's not really my type of receiver. Jameson Williams is different. He's fast. He runs routes excellently. And is that a word? Excellently? He runs excellent routes, and he's just an altogether great receiver. He's fast. He's big. It's pretty much the perfect pairing for Josh Allen. 26 to Tennessee. I would have gone wide receiver here as well. And I think I'm going to, because they just got rid of Julio Jones. Yeah, I think I'm going to go wide receiver at 26. I'm going to go Drake London. And it's pretty much a man-for-man replacement for Julio Jones. Can't really replace prime Julio Jones, but this Tennessee $7 discount Julio Jones, you're going to want a replacement for, and that's Drake London. I like Drake London. I think he's a great fit for them. He's massive. He's fast. He catches the ball well. He's hard to tackle. He's pretty much the perfect package. The only problem is sometimes he drops the ball, and sometimes his routes are limited. But Drake London's a great receiver. This had him as their receiver one. Don't stand by that for a second myself, but interesting to see nonetheless. 27 to Tampa. This is interesting. I'm going to go interior line as well. I don't know if I'm going to do that because they don't have it. I'm going to trade away this pick. Yeah, I'm going to trade this to Detroit. 27, 32. And yeah, I'm going to trade this pick to Detroit because I'm just going to trade a bunch. I'm going to trade 2 1s. I know that would never happen, but what happened? Apologies. I'm just trying to make this trade happen. Force this trade. All right. That I know that trade would obviously never happen. I'm just trying to make it happen in this. Quarterback. Detroit are in need of one. Detroit are going to get one, and it's going to be my quarterback one of the class. That's Sam Howell. He's very hard to tackle, first things first, so he's not going to be sacked often. And in a line that Detroit is not particularly proud of, but not in a need to destroy and bring everyone back and bring no one back. They're going to need a quarterback that's going to be hard to tackle. He's good outside the pocket. He has probably my favorite deep ball in the class, and he's just consistent. He's played college football for 3-4 years now, and he's very capable. This season, not as good statistically. He lost his 2 running backs and Diami Brown, but this year he was still very good. Watching his tape, you could see very clearly he's not easy to tackle. He's a good rushing quarterback, and he's very, very good at launching the ball deep. So Sam Howell, 27, bringing into that division a quarterback for the years, facing off with Justin Fields. 28, Green Bay coming towards the end of this. They're going to go here. This is a tough one because they're losing Zadarius Smith. Yeah, I'm going to go edge as well, and I'm going to go someone that you wouldn't have expected. I'm going to go Drake Jackson here out of USC. Second Drake out of USC getting taken. He was someone that at the start of this season, he was at the top of draft boards. He was top 10 pick at the start of this college football season. He dropped off a little bit, a lot of it actually, but he's really good. I think people are forgetting how quick, how dynamic he is. And he could drop back in as a linebacker, an outside linebacker, play as a will. And he's also very capable. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get taken higher than would be expected. Drake Jackson at 28. 29 overall to my Miami Dolphins. This is a spot that is going to be, right now it has to be offensive line because they are in dire need of offensive line improvement. And given this board, it's very clearly Trevor Penning. He's a ferocious blocker, and he'll help Tua Tagovailoa out super much. And hopefully this will happen. I'm not sure this will happen in real life. Trevor Penning is mocked to go very high in some boards, mocked to go second round in some boards. Tua Tagovailoa will very much benefit from Trevor Penning. I still think they might go tackle in a free agency, but right now he's not on their team. No free agent tackles. 30 overall, Kansas City. This is a tough one because they are in need of a couple of positions on their defense. You know what? No, it's not a tough one because you have someone that can play multiple positions on on the defense, and that is Dax Hill. He's not listed as a safety here. He is someone who could play everywhere on the defense. Dax Hill. He's listed as a corner here, safety on the Draft Network. He could play anywhere, and he can really help them out in a lot of spots. In need of a cornerback, one, sure. In need of safeties, definitely. They just brought in Justin Reed because they're losing Honey Badger, and they're not going to want to start Dan Sorensen again this season. So Dax Hill is actually the perfect fit here. Cincinnati has brought in line help in free agency, but I don't think this is going to be the end of it. So apologies for bringing up Jermaine Johnson here. It is actually. I'm gonna take Devontae Wyatt here because they lost Larry Ogunjobi, and I don't think their defensive tackles were quite up to standard until the playoffs. And this season in the improving AFC, it's not going to be good enough for them. And at 32, capping off the first round, to Tampa Bay. I'm going to do the thing that they do every year, and I'm going to take a running back because they do that every year. This year it's going to be Ken Walker. He's my favorite running back in the class. Good receiving back, really fast. He sets up blocks very well, and he runs through lines very well. And this is my first round mock draft. I'm just going to keep this up here for a little bit. So Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Neal, Hamilton, Ike Ekwonu, Stingley, Olave, Gardner, Willis, Burks, Booth, Linderbaum, Pickett, Walker, Ojabo, McDuffie, Davis, Corral, Green, Cross, Gordon, Dotson, Karlaftis, Johnson, Williams, London, Howell, Jackson, Penning, Hill, Wyatt, Walker. Just running it down for you guys. I do appreciate you guys watching this whole video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Come back for more mock drafts because we're going to be pumping them out all season. Thanks, guys. See ya.